Now coming to the parasympathetic outflow. First is the ciliary ganglion, which plays a role in the ciliary millimeter of the eye as well as pupillary sphincter. Then you have the sphenopalatine ganglion, which helps in the secretion of lacrimal gland and nasal gland. Then you have the submandibular ganglion, which plays a role in secretion of submandibular gland. Then you have the optic ganglion, which helps in the parotid gland. So you have ciliary ganglion, sphenopalatine ganglion, submandibular ganglion and optic ganglion. Then you have innervation of pylorus, ileocecal valve and anal sphincter and detrusor and trigone, which is a bladder innervation, comes from the sacral outflow. This is the cranial outflow. Apart from that, it supplies the heart. So the cranial outflow is associated with various ganglion, heart, pylorus, ileocecal valve, and the sacral outflow is associated with anal sphincter, detrusor and trigone of the urinary bladder. It is a craniosacral outflow. Vagus nerve contributes to about 75% of the parasympathetic innervation. The physiological response which are elicited by parasympathetic stimulation are usually discrete, and here the neurotransmitter is acetylcholine. Now coming to the sympathetic nervous system, it is slightly more complicated than the parasympathetic system, and the part includes your outflow from T1 to L2. You have the sympathetic chain on either side of the vertebra, and you have the postganglion and the preganglion neuron, before the ganglion and after the ganglion, and you have the white ramus communicating and the grey communicating rambus. Apart from that, you have the spinal nerve. Everything is coordinated in a synchronized fashion before eliciting a response. Coming to cervical ganglion, there are three distinct interconnected ganglion. You have superior, middle and inferior cervical ganglion. The superior cervical ganglion is an elongated cylindrical shaped ganglion which is formed by the fusion of C1 to C4. All four join together to form a single superior cervical ganglion. Then comes the middle cervical ganglion, which is between the superior and the inferior cervical ganglion. And coming to inferior cervical ganglion, this inferior cervical ganglion fuse with the first thoracic ganglion to form the stellate ganglion, which is located at the cervicothoracic junction. And this cervical head and neck is mainly supplying the heart and the lung. The lung actually receives from the first thoracic part, not from the cervical part. Coming to thoracic ganglion, it is rising from T2 to T12 because T1 will be stellate ganglion, which goes with the inferior cervical ganglion. Here, the ganglion is adjusted to the respective vertebral column and it is located at the posterior part of the mediastinum. Stellate ganglion is the topmost, which is formed by the fusion of C8 and T1. Then the thoracic part supplies the posterior pulmonary plexus, arch of aorta and the cardiac plexus. The abdominal part, you have the greater splanchnic nerve, lesser splanchnic nerve and two other ganglion are there, celiac ganglion and aortico-renal ganglion. And coming to the pelvic part, there is the least splanchnic nerve and the renal nerve. These are all the various nerves of the thoracic ganglion, and this is going to form the superior mesenteric and celiac plexus and the main nerve supply for the large and small intestine. Now coming to the lumbar ganglion, this is L1 to L5 lumbar ganglion. Usually 4 ganglions will be seen. This is located anterior to the thoracolumbar fascia within the perivertebral space and posterior medial to the psoas major muscle. This lumbar part will form the inferior mesenteric, aortic and hypogastrik plexus, and the main supply is going to be to the urinary bladder. Coming to sacral ganglion, here it is located in the pelvis, S1 to S5 sacral sympathetic ganglion. It is located on the anterior surface of the sacrum, medial to S1 to S4 sacral foramina. Coccygeal ganglion, it is also called as a ganglion impair. Here you can see the coccygeal ganglion. So, to summarize the sympathetic nervous system, it is a central autonomic network. It has connection with the vasomotor center, nucleus tractus solitarius and ventrolateral medulla, paravertebral and prevertebral ganglia, two ganglia on either side of the vertebra. It synapses at multiple levels and there is diffuse innervation. And the neurotransmitter for sympathetic nervous system includes acetylcholine and norepinephrine. This is preganglionic and this is postganglionic.